will be like on the front lines.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is Saturday, February 9th, 8th.
Saturday, February
It's something.
9th.
It
That's
is
right.
the 9th.
Saturday, February 9th, everybody.
And we've got myself and Chaotic Shock here this morning. What's up,
man,
Deborah?
that's
Good
looking
morning.
cold.
What's up, Jake? And, we had a very exciting week this past week. Very busy, but very exciting, very educational, informative. Like, it's just been an all-around great week. We've met some amazing activists from around the state of Maryland. We've connected with lots of cannabis business owners and, dispensary owners and product innovators and just, people from all spectrums, all aspects of life in Maryland that all have their own personal reasons of why they're so passionate about the cannabis industry and legalization and, what they're bringing to the table.
In addition to making a lot of progress as far as the cannabis legalization efforts in Maryland, I think that's the coolest thing that we've done this week is that, maybe 2 weeks ago, people would have said, cannabis legalization in Maryland, it's going to happen, but, there's not a lot of organization around it. We don't know what's going on. Whereas now I definitely have a really good idea that there is a lot of attention around cannabis legalization in Maryland, and there's a lot of efforts pushing to make it happen. So,
and for those of you guys who aren't aware, AJ and I are the co-founders of a community organization called Maryland Marijuana Justice. So if you haven't heard of us, please go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's
the official website, mdmj.org.
mdmj.org is the website. If you search on Facebook, it's MDMJ 2018. Twitter, MDMJ 2018. So please check us out. Give us a like, Maryland Marijuana Justice, or as we call it, MDMJ, was created as a sister organization to DCMJ, which DCMJ is the organization run by Adam Eidinger, who is responsible for writing the bill initiative that legalized cannabis in the District of Columbia for recreational purposes.
Which is called Initiative 71.
Initiative 71, correct. And we started MDMJ to fighting for cannabis users, growers, and their families in the Free State. Sorry, I had to look at my business card. But this is what we use for weed scraping. So yes, MDMJ is an organization created for the community, for Maryland citizens to be more involved politically, culturally, to just be more active.
That's right.
And educating and,
informing people of how to change the law when they feel that their justice has been denied.
And also speaking on your own personal experience of how cannabis has helped you. We welcome anybody.
Absolutely.
If you're a concerned citizen, a concerned cannabis user who likes to go shoot guns, we're fighting for you so that you're not discriminated against for having your medical card and your gun license. If you
are a parent, who has a child with medical cannabis needs, we're fighting for you as well so that you can have more rights and access to make sure that your child has the best treatment available.
If you're a veteran and you're tired of being on opiates and that the VA has prescribed you, we're fighting for you to be able to consume, cultivate, and possess cannabis without fear of having your benefits dropped because of your use of cannabis. We're fighting for you.
If you are in low-income housing, subsidized federal housing, in any federal housing across the country, where we want you to have access to cannabis and not be afraid to be denied of your housing.
So check out HR 6152 that's in the house right now.
Well, hopefully it'll come back, because remember that was last session.
Yes,
we actually
so
have
it needs
some
a new bill number.
Exactly. So I'm not sure exactly how that works.
To elaborate, HR 6152 was introduced last year in Congress by Congresswoman Eleanor Norton Holmes out of the District of Columbia, who introduced the bill. And HR 6152 is a bill that would protect those individuals who rely on public housing, subsidized Section 8 housing, which would include veterans, the elderly, the sick, the poor, the abused, college students, senior citizens. It would protect those individuals in legal states to be able to consume this plant just like everyone else, to be able to benefit from this legalization just like everybody else. We're fighting for you.
And to answer your question, Deborah, yes, I-71 is the initiative that got DC recreational cannabis. It expanded the law to include possession of up to 1 ounce, donations, home cultivation rights.
And the entirety of the HR 6152, it's actually called Marijuana in Federally Subsidized Housing Parity Act of 2018. And I will highlight what AJ was just speaking about DC with Initiative 71. Even though, what was it? How many people? What percentage of DC?
56%.
56% of DC citizens voted yes to legalize recreational marijuana. And when that happened back in 2014, Andy Harris looking ass, who is the congressman for the 1st District of Maryland, which is why I moved here to Maryland, he put a budget rider on DC recreational, on the law, saying that funds couldn't be allocated to recreational dispensaries, deliveries.
No sales.
No sales, no transactions. Mm-hmm. Basically, you still got to buy it off the black market, and God forbid you get caught. I mean, unless you know a grower who's just going to give you weed, you got to buy it. So don't get caught buying weed in D.C. if you don't have your medical card. But we're fighting for you.
We are. We're fighting for 2 things. There's 2 very important, awesome things that we did this week that we're still working on. That's a work in progress. Before this week, we actually didn't have any sense of what the numbers were for the bills locally here in Maryland on the state level.
Let's tell them what we did this week.
Okay, yeah, let's tell them what we did.
So, Maryland Normal, huge shout out to Luke Jones.
Huge shout out to Luke Jones.
And Eric Sterling.
Olivia Nagel.
Carly Wolf.
What up, Carly Wolf?
Everybody who was behind the scenes working on this lobby day, we just want to extend a huge shout out and thank you to you guys for being so amazing and teaching us so much about how to organize a lobby day. I think it ended up being very successful. But before I get too ahead of myself, Maryland Normal.
The Maryland policy.
Maryland Normal created a coalition called the Maryland Cannabis Policy Coalition.
Yes.
Which is a coalition
comprised of the Maryland Policy Project,
lots of different organizations throughout the state of Maryland.
Exactly.
All kinds of different independent organizations run by people just like you and me.
I think you're right, Luke. It was 65%. I was thinking back to Initiative 77.
He's thinking about the referendum.
You're right.
So many projects we've worked on. All these things are just... Anyway, so... Maryland Normal, we teamed up with Maryland Normal, created a coalition, and constituents from all over the state of Maryland, we all came together on one day, which was this past Tuesday, February 5th, in Annapolis, Maryland, and we had meetings set up for everybody, and we all got to meet with our delegates and senators to talk about these 2 bills that now have numbers. So
yes.
You want to explain that?
Yeah. So the first and most important bill that I've been aware of is the Maryland House Bill 0632, which was introduced by Delegate David Moon, that I actually got to meet and take a picture with, and I got to speak with him, for a pretty good amount of time at the Spark event. But back to Lobby Day.
So guys, check out Spark Maryland. That's Spark ! Maryland. check them out. It's a wonderful organization that just puts on huge, amazing, awesome networking events. And it's so awesome to be surrounded by, an entire room of people that share the same visions as you. Maybe we don't all have the same, stories,
or way
but we all have the same
goal,
end result that we want to reach.
Absolutely. So Delegate David Moon introduced House Bill 0632. And that is
Love
a
you,
bill.
Jolie. It was so nice to meet you too, sister.
That's right. And that bill would allow a constitutional amendment similar to Amendment 64 in Colorado that would tax and regulate and legally, allow the possession of up to 1 ounce of cannabis for use, for anyone across the state.
21 and older.
The caveat to this bill is that it would be a constitutional amendment that the voters would decide on,
vote on the ballot. Put it on the ballot
in 2020.
And you know what that means. Let me just make a disclaimer for you people watching and who others will watch later. If this constitutional bill introduced by David Moon gets some traction and gets on the ballot, you guys have one fucking job: to get your asses out there and vote. I don't care what your excuse is for not voting previously, but if weed is on the ballot, you better get your ass out and vote, and you better bring a friend with you.
That's right.
That's all I have to say about that. Okay.
So, on to the next bill, because Delegate David Moon has just one bill, and I was interested in him because he, when I first got to Maryland, I did some research to see if there was any cannabis bills active, and Delegate David Moon was the only one that had a number of co-sponsors on his bill last session. So Delegate David Moon has introduced a bill to legalize cannabis four times.
Yeah, 4 times.
And so I really commend him for his efforts.
For his persistence.
Exactly, for his persistence.
And never giving up. Thank you, David Moon, for not giving up.
That's right. So while we still have one type of cannabis bill, there's actually been another bill introduced in the Maryland House. And both of these bills actually got some traction on Ganjapreneur. The Ganjapreneur recently had an article about the two bills that were introduced in the Maryland House to try and legalize.
If you guys want to stay up to date on cannabis news that gets published every single day, check out Ganjapreneur, Marijuana
Leafly.
Times, Leafly. I'll post some links later.
And so back to the other bill that was introduced by Delegate Eric Lukey that has a co-sponsor in the Senate as well. It's House Bill 0656 and Senate Bill 0771.
Well, here's the thing, Deborah. If we get the constitutional bill on the ballot, Larry Hogan cannot veto.
That's correct. Because of the constitutional amendment, it would have to pass by 85 votes, supermajority.
Yeah.
Once you pass the either way, if any of these bills hit the supermajority vote of 85 delegates and senators, then Larry Hogan cannot veto. Very good observation, Chris. Thanks for keeping up with the comments. So yes, the other bill is going to be similar to the way that Vermont legalized. This would be through
the legislature.
Done through the legislature.
Which is awesome. Okay, let's break this down for
Absolutely.
people who don't understand what that
very
means.
Good.
When we say that Vermont legalized cannabis through the legislature, that means that they did not put it on the ballot. That means the legislators and the lawmakers took it upon themselves to vote it in by themselves and legalized it through the state.
And they enact usually some sort of commission or, enforcement division or something to tax and regulate and to oversee how that process works so that the citizens don't have to vote, they don't have to go through all that process.
In my opinion, I commend Vermont for doing it that way because it just kind of sets a precedence for let's lead by example. This is the right thing to do morally. Why do we need to leave it up to, why is it necessary to even put it on the ballot? All these other states are doing it. We've got all these, positive statistics coming back from all these legal states. Why not just legalize it because it's the right thing to do?
And that's
why I appreciate the way they went about it. And there's a huge difference in just putting it on the ballot and leaving it up to the citizens to decide and just making the decision yourself as a legislator. That just is Big thumbs up to Vermont for that.
Absolutely. And so that actually leads me back to our interactions on Lobby Day, because
how far does his veto power go?
Larry Hogan's veto power only extends for similar to the way the president's veto power extends, as far as if
it gets a majority of votes, Hogan can't veto it.
That's correct. So the bills, the way the bills work is that you have just a standard majority of
71.
No. The standard majority is 51%, right? So if they get I forget how many delegates and senators there are, but if they get
Luke,
51%,
if you're still watching, help us out here.
That's right. If they get 51% of the votes, then Hogan can still veto it. If we get a super majority, which is the 2/3 vote, Hogan cannot veto it. That is the way that it works. And so on either bill, that is what we are fighting for. That's what we're trying to do, is accumulate enough support so that we know how many delegates and senators would vote on the bill, so that way, if we know that there's a super majority support for these bills, then we know Hogan can't veto it, and we know it would pass.
It's like they have a safe zone.
Exactly. It's the checks and balances system, so that as long as there's enough support in that actual legislature, then it will automatically go through with no matter what. But if there's no, and so that leads me definitely back to our interactions on Lobby Day, because that's the important thing that I think a lot of American citizens don't understand, is that once you understand that process and you understand that your individual delegate, that vote counts. And if you, as a group of constituents, go in there and you say, all 5 of us want you to vote this way, then that is saying that's going to sway their vote. And that's very important, because each one of those votes, adds up. Each one of those co-sponsors adds up.
And David Moon is in this situation right here. He's introduced, this is the 4th time that he has introduced this constitutional bill.
Mm-hmm.
He's a sitting duck, all alone, just hoping somebody will come play with him. Okay, I'm going to try to break this down as simple as I can. He needs your senators' co-sponsorship. He needs your delegates' support. And that's why we had Lobby Day, is so that we could get our delegates throughout the state of Maryland on board with David Moon's bill.
And this issue in general, I think that a lot of delegates aren't even aware of the fact that cannabis legalization is an important issue to people. It's definitely an important issue, and it's a nonpartisan issue. It's something that we've seen both Republicans and Libertarians and Democrats, both Republicans and Democrats, people from all across the political spectrum, all support cannabis legalization.
And Carl Anderton, we're calling you out right now. Carl Anderton is a delegate for District 38B in Maryland, and he told us, we spoke with him briefly on Tuesday, he told us that it's going to pass and that, yes, he would vote for it. So Carl Anderton, David Moon needs a Republican co-sponsor. So we're calling you out. We need you to co-sponsor the constitutional bill that would tax and regulate cannabis and legalize it for adults 21 and older.
Great. So while we've got a good summary going, let's get back to some of the comments here. I know we've seen some
So
good
Deborah
comments here.
says, if it was a state unlike Vermont that was conservative state, how far can legislate go on issues?
Well, that's a great question, because the specifics of David Moon's bill, I think, are slightly different than Eric Ludke's bill. And so the cool thing about it, though, is just like Colorado, a lot of these provisions, I believe, will become amended over time. So, for example, one of the specifics of Eric Ludke's bill is that it only allows for 4 plants in home cultivation. So while I don't necessarily like that provision, I do think that, as if they legalize that, one of the things that we can do as citizens is lobby for amending the bill.
Is.
Exactly.
It can be changed.
Exactly. We can amend the bill. We can update these issues. So as far as how far the legislature can go, they have a lot of power. They do. They have the power to completely enact a brand new law that would a blanket law for the entire state. So they have a lot of power as long as they vote together as a block.
Exactly.
So that's what we're trying to do, is to raise that this issue is really important to all the people and their delegates and senators. On to the next question.
Luke Jones says, how would David Moon's bill help produce equity in the legal market?
So I think that Delegate David Moon gave me a pretty good answer to that. The thing about the legal market is that right now in Maryland we still have a medical system set up. And so, kind of what I'm envisioning is similar to the way that happened in Colorado, where a lot of these medical dispensaries that already have a system and that have already been established, they can usually just sort of establish a recreational side or an adult use side. Exactly.
2 separate lines.
And
medical
it's the same
patients
product.
go to this door.
It's the same.
Rec goes to this door.
It's a very simple retail system that is, retail model, business model that has already been established. So while we let them continue to do what they're going to do, the real fine print that I've seen in the Maryland cannabis legalization efforts is that we have to make really good provisions for the business licenses and how people are able to obtain the business licenses.
We need to make it more realistic for small business owners.
Exactly. So that's what I've been trying to educate people about as far as the Colorado market, that I think a lot of people across the country do not understand, which is that in Colorado it is a free market system to where we have, at least from what I understood, at the beginning of legalization, we had a free market opportunity for both small business owners and corporations to have the same playing field, basically. So you can have 10 green solutions, which is for people that don't understand what a green solution is. They are a corporate-owned dispensary, a conglomerate, vertically oriented, so that
and they're expensive as fuck.
Listen to this, because you have to understand the difference between vertically oriented and horizontally, oriented. So green solution is vertically oriented, meaning that they not only are a retail, entity, but they also do processing. They also do their own, testing,
merch line.
Not just merchandise, but I'm saying there are different parts of the industry. And that's one of the problems that is in Maryland right now, is that you have all these conglomerates that do the processing, they do trimming, they do their cultivation, and they sell it. And so that
they're all owned by
exactly by huge businesses. So in Colorado, you have that in addition to dispensaries that there's only one owner, there's only one manager. It was started by just one person. You have an opportunity for other local people to get in there.
People understand what it's like in Colorado.
No, so we have to educate them. We have to teach them.
There is a weed shop on every corner. Depends on where you're at. If you're in Denver,
I tried. I listed 50 different dispensary brands, which is more than the amount of. Okay. Oh, very good, Luke. Looks like we got some interesting comments here. It says David Moon's bill provides for micro licenses, which is small businesses, and it also provides for expungements and other restorative justice policies.
And that's what we want.
In response to what Deborah is saying, yes, we've learned specifically from I need to find this guy's business card, but we were talking with one of the dispensaries owners here.
Warren?
Well, yes, Warren. Warren explained in thorough detail that there is an extreme monopoly and oligarchy as far as the cannabis industry in Maryland. And it's very unfortunate, but he said that 8 out of 10 dispensaries are all owned by the conglomerates, and Big Canna. And that's really unfortunate because it drives the market. Warren Leahy, he's at Parker Relief, is one of our connections. Peak Relief, that's right. So Warren Leahy's one of the business owners that we interacted with. Very, very knowledgeable, very, very informative about the cannabis industry in Maryland.
He runs his business from the heart.
He does. Very ethical, exactly. So shout out to Warren and Peak Relief in Rockville, Maryland. I think that's one of the very important issues that we need to be aware of, because we don't want to allow Big Canada to take over the Maryland economy and have this big, price gouging, and make it really unfair and have this black market have to blow up, because of the regulations that are in place. Mm-hmm. We want to see fair, organized. So the MMCC did a crappy job with the licenses.
I think MMCC is just keeping up as best they can with policies and regulations. I think they are working for the people. They're not they're not these bad guys that we think. Like, they're just trying to keep up with the regulations and the new, amendments and laws being changed constantly.
Exactly. I think, and I can understand that because Colorado initially, even though the law was enacted,
if you talk to Aaron
January
Shepard,
1st,
he'll tell you that too.
There you go. But January 1st, 2014 was when Colorado's Amendment 64 was enacted. All the way up until, even now, the cannabis laws are changing daily, weekly, monthly. There's so many updates, that happen that, Luke says MMCC followed the legislation issued as MMCC. And so, it looks like they're just slow.
It takes people like you and me to recognize the issues and the red flags and the language of these policies, and to be able to call our legislators, and our senators and representatives and say, hey, I don't like this. We need to change this. This isn't representing the people. This is only representing the big businesses. This isn't expunging people's records. It's not focusing on the failed war on drugs. This is, if we have a problem, we have to use our voices to fix it.
We have a responsibility, and I think that that's the most important thing that we have to realize is that if we see a problem, say something. If you see something, say something. You can't just sit back and wait for things to change anymore.
Because we have people on the front lines, people that you don't see on a day-to-day basis that is fighting for, decent regulations and policies and laws that represent the people. We have people on the front lines fighting for that. You just don't see them.
No.
And that's why I say huge shout out to Aaron Shepard. He runs his own organization. He's in the, he's in the magazine, Maryland Magazine. Luke, help me out here. They were passing the magazine out. The one I was reading yesterday.
I don't remember the name. Mary Jane Maryland.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Really great article about Aaron Shepard in that magazine. Y'all check it out. But yeah, he does highlight how some of the policies from MMCC were not up to par, and all you have to do is work with these people and tell them what needs to be changed, and they're gonna do it. That's it. And that's what Aaron Shepard did. And now he's the reason why. I mean, maybe not just him, but in this article I gathered information. And to me, what I got out of that article was that he really is out there, making sure that all these new policies, laws, and regulations regarding cannabis, they do represent the people and not the big monopolies and corporations. So.
Absolutely. And to elaborate on your point, Deborah, of course the monopolies should have lower prices and the small business owners can't. It's very true because in Colorado what we see is this awesome free market where it provides the opportunity for everything. I think that there is a place for Green Solution, just as much as, even though I don't like them.
Just like we got Prada shops and we got the dollar store.
I think that there's a place for all of that, and I think that that's fine and that's fair, and that's the way it should be in any industry. There should not be any sort of monopoly. That you shouldn't have it be all small business owners. You shouldn't have it be all corporate. You should have this awesome mix of both, where the people get to choose and decide, and you can grow at home if you want to, and avoid all of that.
And we can't let history repeat itself. We see the government; they take advantage of people in poverty. We don't want to be like that. We want to help those people in poverty. We want to help, fight for home cultivation so that every patient, every person who consumes cannabis can grow it right in the convenience of their own homes. We don't want to forget about the little guys, because we are the little guys. We're fighting for, regular people, not big corporations.
That's right. So... But quality needs consistent, not Prada versus Walmart. Well, that's the advantage of it, because as much as there is that, I could go through it all of the details. But yeah, you've got the Green Dragon quality, you've got the Green Solution quality, you've got the Rockstone Dispensary, you got the Live Well quality,
Northern Lights.
You've got lit quality, you've got what's that, Altitude. I mean, and that's the benefit of it, right? Sweet Leaf is gone now, but yeah, you're right. That's the benefit, is that
it's all about variety.
Exactly.
Having options.
Exactly. The more options you get, the more choices you're going to have, and you as a consumer have the power to determine that quality. And you can say, no, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to spend my money on that. Mm-hmm. And that's the best thing, because that forces the businesses to improve their quality. That forces the businesses to be more competitive.
Because if we're going to pay money for it, it better be what I want.
Right?
That's how we treat any other product in America, don't we?
Exactly. That's how the iPhone got developed, is that people weren't making good enough phones. People weren't able to come up with an innovative solution, but someone had to come up with it and market it and sell it, and then that's what happened. And that's the way it should be with any product, is that you should be forced to be innovative because the consumer wants you to be innovative and price effective and have, you know, these options and this quality. So to me, that's the benefit of the cannabis industry, is that not only do we have that, but all of that, the money that people spend on it can go to education and substance abuse programs. And what about the existing monopolies? We're going to get rid of them. David Moon's bill would get rid of them because he's providing opportunities for small business owners. He's going to change the way the licenses are set up.
It's gonna, you know, allow for more applicants.
Exactly.
Or people to apply for licenses instead of right now. It's only like 15?
Yeah, there's a very limited number right now.
Not a lot, and that's why
there's
it's so
existing
expensive.
monopoly. Exactly. So yes, we're working on all these things. We're working on Maryland and Eric Lukey's bill. You know, is totally different. We'll be, you know, talking about the provisions of that one. So yeah, those are the two bills. We've got House Bill 632 introduced by Delegate David Moon, and we've got the House Bill 0656 introduced by Delegate Lukey. And yes, the money is going to the right place because there's actually a whole allocation as far as where the taxes are supposed to go.
And it's already been spent, David Moon says.
Yeah, exactly. But in a good way, though. In a good way that people want this money from the legalization to benefit these programs, right? You know, we want a universal pre-K program. We want, better
universal healthcare.
Yeah, universal healthcare. We want more funding
tuition.
for free college tuition, low income housing,
better programs for prisoners.
Exactly. All of these things need funding, and what better way to do it?
Put art back into schools.
Exactly. Right. All that stuff can be done. You know, and it's great that we can have options. We can have options. We can make cannabis free for people. We can make people pay for it. We can use that money to generate, you know,
we can allow people to grow it for themselves.
That's right. It's so many options.
That's what I want the most. I want home grow. You know, we go to DC all the time, and all our friends have their own harvest going on, and you know, it makes me a little jealous sometimes because as soon as we hit that state line and head back into Maryland, it's like you get this restricting anxiety feeling of, you know, holy shit, we're back in a... And even though I have my medical card, I've heard stories.
That's right, we heard
stories over the week of an individual, I'm not going to say any names, but getting pulled over 3 times with their medical card and the police confiscating her cannabis and having to go to court for it. And the police officers are nowhere near up to date on new cannabis laws and the fact that citizens with a medical card are in legal rights to possess marijuana. Like, that's fucking scary.
Yeah, it's absurd that even with a medical program in place, law enforcement still hasn't adapted to understand. And
it's not a requirement.
Right?
Obviously, if one cop didn't know, who knows? Like, what are the rest of these cops practicing on? What is their training?
We got a comment here. Diana says she's new to Colorado and trying to get involved with the community out here as far as bettering the schools and communities. Yeah, in fact, there is an organization that you should reach out to, Diana, called Together Colorado. Together Colorado is I would say a PAC, you know, a political action committee in Colorado that is working on the Fight for 15 in DIA. They're working on some educational projects, and they do a lot of community outreach. My uncle is involved with them, through his church.
What's it called?
Together Colorado is the organization. They have a Facebook page and a website. Together Colorado is the organization that I would get involved in if I was back in Colorado. The next question we have here is: do they arrest people coming from DC to Maryland? Yes, that is definitely true.
That's probably their cash crop right there.
Yeah, man,
hanging out at the border.
It's really sad. Let's see. Luke Jones says existing monopolies.
Re-existing.
Re-existing monopolies. Delegate Cheryl Glenn and the Black caucus has been all thumbs. She is listening to the wrong voices. They want to fix license consolidation, but they don't know how. It's a train wreck. New legalization would allow one corporate entity to own 6 dispensary licenses. Man. Yeah, see, that's one of the things that I'm trying to work on as well. Anyone out there that's part of the black anything in Maryland, seriously, I'm trying to reach out to the Black Caucus and the black legislators, because
anybody in Salisbury today, there's a black business event going
Black
on.
Business Expo at the Hampton Inn from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission. All you have to do is sign up. There's a Facebook page. Definitely, just the thing is that I think the African American community and black people in general need to be more aware of how negatively cannabis prohibition is affecting the lives of African Americans in Maryland, in the state of Maryland, which is what caused a couple of interesting things here. Like in Baltimore, I don't know the exact details of this, but I know they recently
decriminalized
possession of up to an ounce, and said that law enforcement is really going to stop.
So just like what happened in D.C., how Mario Bowser, instructed the police to stop arresting people for public smoking, or that's it, right? For
that's
smoking
correct.
in public, that's no longer an arrestable
jailable
charge.
offense. That's right.
You can't go to jail for that. They just give you a fine.
That's right.
And you pay the fine, and that's it. So that's basically what's happening.
Well, you pay the fine,
and
you start to show up in court. That's correct.
So that's basically what happened in Baltimore. They no longer can arrest people in Baltimore County for possession of cannabis or consumption. I don't know if it's consumption too.
Yeah, there's a few specifics on that we need to be updated on. So that's just something to be aware of, is that these things are changing, and we want them to change. We're that's what we're fighting for, is to get the law enforcement updated. And in the meantime, stop arresting people. Understand that just because the law is the way right now doesn't mean that you have to enforce it that way. You can be open-minded, and you can use your observations as a law enforcement officer to make ethical decisions, rather than use African Americans as a money-making tool. Because that ultimately is what it is boiled down to, is that if law enforcement can find any way to make money and arrest people and collar people and make money off of the disenfranchisement of people, then they're going to do it. And it's not fair. We have to stop that. We have to get rid of that. And it's not fair that we should have to feel anxious in one part of the country and feel safe in another part of the country. Mm-hmm. This is America. And that's right. And that leads me to the next interesting thing that happened this week that people aren't aware, is that there's been a bill introduced in the United States Senate, called Senate Bill 420. So now we have both House 420 in the federal House, and we have Senate 420 in the federal Senate.
And for those of you who don't understand how bills work, check out
Schoolhouse Rock. I'm Just a Bill. If you're not familiar with that song, it's a very great way with a video to understand how bills become into law. Yeah, exactly, Diana. Yeah, so now a lot of people. The thing is that it's very important to watch these bills, because here's the thing.
Now it's time to call you.
Here's the thing. So much has changed in the past few months with cannabis legalization that, number one, Jeff Sessions and Pete Sessions are gone, so we have the ability to get these bills moved to the floor for debate. And not only that, but it's in both chambers of the legislature, which means that it's going to move faster, which means that if we get the supermajority in both chambers, then federal legalization is imminent. It will actually happen. President can't even veto. So people got to wrap their heads around the fact that this is all possible if the people actually
would deschedule marijuana.
Yes,
it would not be a Schedule 1. It wouldn't be on there at all.
Exactly. It would be all of this would be over. And so all we have to do is contact both our senators. It would end cannabis prohibition.
I don't think you fuckers are ready for all that.
Right?
Is that what it is? You're just intimidated? You can't handle the anticipation? You don't know what it's going to be like!
But so many people have said this is imminent, this is the time, that all we have to do is contact our legislators.
That's it!
And it will happen. It really will.
And you don't have to travel to D.C. because every state has a capital. And if you travel to that capital, you'll be able to talk to your people.
So the first thing is that you don't even have to travel to the capital. You can call them and you can email them.
But
if you
showing
have
up
time,
in person is very more
important.
valuable.
It is, right?
Calling is good, emailing is good, but showing up is golden.
That's right.
You understand? So
that's what we need people
if
to
you
do.
have
It doesn't matter
one
where
fucking
you
day
are,
off,
you know?
one day off of the week, and it's a weekday, please make it a mission to head up to your state capital and go meet with your fucking delegates. Go meet with your representatives. Go tell them, look, here's my story. This is why I want cannabis to be legalized. This is my story. I want you to hear it. They have to listen to you. They have to meet with you. They have to talk to you.
He could not veto, but does not stop the racist misogyny. And that's fine. You're right.
And that's another issue that we have to...
You're right. That's a whole other thing. But at the least, can we make some progress in this administration?
Carly!
Yay! Huge shout out to Carly.
Carly in the house!
Carly in the house! Carly in the house! Yeah, man. So, I mean, you're right. The president is going to be the president. But I think that people don't understand that, you know, the legislature is just as important. And that's where we as the people can act. We can tell the legislature what to do. The people have the power still in the United States as far as making the laws.
We're just, as Luke would say, we're just not engaged.
That's right.
We're not engaged.
We are not engaged. So, you know, it's one problem at a time. You're right. School shootings is another issue. But we got to start where we know we can fix things.
Imagine if every gun owner was legally allowed to have a medical card and smoke weed. Maybe we wouldn't have all these.
And you shouldn't even have to have a medical card. Imagine if every gun owner was able to smoke a joint instead of having to feel like they have to fire the trigger. That is, to me, the option.
Imagine if every veteran had a nice harvest sitting in their living room and didn't have to pop opiates every night. You know, maybe we wouldn't lose 22 veterans a day to suicide. So these issues, whether it be you know, your own battles with addiction, or you lost a friend to an overdose, or you lost a friend to suicide, or your mom's an alcoholic, or whatever. It's your story. It's important. Don't ever think that your voice doesn't matter. And when now is the time to call your representatives to tell them that HR 420 is in the House and it's in the Senate, and that they need to co-sponsor so that we can end prohibition.
Neither of these bills have any co-sponsors right now. So we have so much time. We have to get every single senator and representative we can on board, regardless of whether your senator is a Democrat or a Republican. It doesn't matter who represents you. What matters is that they understand that cannabis legalization is important. It's important, and not just your senators and representatives, but your friends, your family. A lot of people don't. Their families and their own parents don't, call to voice their opinions. But everyone has to do something. If every American called the representatives and said, "Hey, I want you to help legalize cannabis and co-sponsor this bill," that's all it takes. It would get done. It would get done. But we as Americans, we got too much going on. We got kids. We got parents sick. We got our lives. We're watching Facebook. We're watching YouTube for 20 hours a day. We're all doing all these extraneous things,
and we're not engaged in the well-being of our lives.
Right.
And because of that, these politicians are taking full advantage of it, and they're just running, and they're getting away with everything.
And all it takes is probably not even 15 minutes of your time, not even 15 minutes of your day to make that call, and not even 15 minutes of your day to send that email, to schedule the appointment to go see them so that they know you're coming and that they will actually be there and they will listen to you.
They have to.
They have to.
Unless your name's Andy Harris and you close the door on your constituents. Literally. But that's another story. So all in all,
right?
all in all,
in conclusion,
we just wanted to recap on our week, and I think we got a lot accomplished. I know I learned a lot.
Between the Spark event, networking with all of the people in the cannabis industry, and regular concerned citizens at the Spark event as well. And going to Lobby Day to work with the Maryland General Assembly. Between both of those things, it's been a long, crazy, exciting, and exhausting week. I can't use any more adjectives to describe it.
But I'd do it all over again, and I encourage you to as well. I saw that video when Annie Harris closed the door on that girl's. Yeah, my homie Rachel, they fucked her up, man.
It's terrible.
But anyways, he'll get his. That's why we gotta vote him out, like Willie Nelson said. Anyways, we really appreciate you guys tuning in and hearing our week. I know I don't go live very often, but I felt inspired to share our experience over the week with you guys. So hopefully we've inspired you as well. Anybody who watches later, don't forget to call your representatives, tell them to get on board with HR and SB 420. And if you live in Maryland, don't forget to call your delegates and representatives also and tell them to co-sponsor
Senate Bill 0771, House Bill 0656, and House Bill 0632.
That's right. That's right. That's
right.
All right, guys. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. See you later.